Welcome to the video lecture series offered by the PG Department of English, Pioneer College. The present extract is taken from Erimala, which gives light to the rich tradition of Kerala. Born in 1855, Kottarathil Sankunni, and as a boy he was called as Sankunni. He studied Sanskrit from Manarkar Shankuvarya and traditional medicine from Narayana Mose. And he started writing poetry, prose, etc. And he joined Malayalam Manorama in 1893. In spite of his contributions to prose, poetry and Kathakali literature, Sankunni became a cult figure in Malayalam as the creator of the legendary Erimala. He started compiling his Legends of Kerala in 1909. The 8-volume compilation was completed by almost 25 years. It was first published in Bhasha Poshni, Kadamatthathu Kathana, Kayankulam Kochunni, Bhavabhuti, Kunjan Nambiyarade Ulbhavam, Pananarkav, Payunu Gramam, Arakkal BV are some of the legendary stories depicted in Erimala. The Hindu princess and her Islamic Dynasty is the 13th lesson prescribed for the 3rd semester undergraduate students of Kannur University in the Common Course English paper. It is translated into English by T.C. Narayanan. Arakkal family, which follows the matriarchal system, maintains a gender neutral system while selecting the rulers. The noted historian Dr. K.K.N. Kurup observes, I quote, though a small one, the dynasty enjoyed great powers, was very powerful in maritime trade, and it maintained the rule of descent that the eldest member of the family, whether male or female, should become the head and ruler, which is a rare thing, unquote. This story unravels the social sanity and tolerance which disappears very fast from our society. The first para of this text is very significant. The story begins like this. This is the story of a Hindu princess who embraced Islam to respect tradition and started a new dynasty in order to resolve a crisis with justice, courage and tolerance. And two things should be noted. One is, he embraced Islam to respect tradition. Second one, he started a new dynasty to resolve crisis with justice, courage and tolerance. So why Islam? And the story was based on the Kottarathil family, the rulers of the North Malabar at that time, which was centered at Erimala. And this is the story of a girl who belongs to that dynasty, that family, royal family, and by accident she believed that, or she acted with a conviction that she should enter into Islamism, or she should embrace Islamism, and that is to respect a tradition. That is the first point I have said. And the second point is, it is a new dynasty was started in order to resolve a crisis with justice, courage and tolerance. And I will explain at the later part of this essay. Justice was maintained by declaring a new kingdom. It was a courageous act from the part of a Hindu ruler, and it shows the tolerance of such a ruler. This is the introductory remark given to this essay, and that itself is telling what is the motive of this whole essay or whole story. It continues. Arakkal Beavis town was Kannur, and it was in Arakkal Taluk, and it was separated from the Kottarathil, the royal family, which I have already said. It narrates the incidents that led to the separation. It happened in 4th century in Malayalam era, that is roughly 13th century AD. And Kottarathil family had lived in Erimala, and their capital was Erimala Kota. And many of because of some difference of opinion, some other members of this family, they were separated as Cherugunnu family, Valavattanam, and Kunjimangalam. Katyamangalam is actually our Kunjimangalam. And the ruler continued to live in the same place as Erimala Kota. That is, this capital of this Kottarathil family was, or dynasty was, Erimala Kota. And the location is already narrated here, and being a nearby place in Payyanur, we know that Erimala is very near to Payyanur. The sea is only a short distance at the west of this Erimala, and there were three types of people. One is the Nair warriors, and the Muslim soldiers, and the Brahmins. According to that Chaturvarnya system, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra, Vaishya, and this was the system followed then. And the Brahmin people were there in order to execute the ritualistic purposes. And the Nair warriors, at the same time, the courageous Muslim warriors were there in order to support the king. And this was the major part of, or the major people lived by the side of this palace that is in Erimala. This is the background. And the incidents begins there. And I tell you once more, the story happens in Erimala, that is at the northern side of Kerala, and the Erimala kingdom was rather a big one, and at a later point, Kunjimangalam, Kotyamangalam, then Valavattanam and Cherugunnu, and such small places were separated from that. But even then, the Erimala king, they keep the grandeur, and the Muslim warriors, the Nair soldiers, and the Brahmanical people, and they supported this royal kingdom. This is the background. And then the story begins. One day, the two young unwed princes went down to the river to take bath. So as usual, it was a protected area for these women to take their bath. And they spent a lot of time in frolic in water. So in those days there were no bathrooms, and they were used to take bath in an open area. But even then it was well protected and protected for these royal women, and they enjoyed the bath very well. And while they were enjoying in the river, they were trapped in this, while diving and swimming, they were trapped in the middle part of the river. And they tried to escape, but they were that is slowly drowning. And the other girl, she started crying aloud. And at that time, there was another man. He was actually a Muslim who belongs to the courageous Islamic soldiers. And one among them was taking his bath, and he was very beautiful and strong. And listening to this cry, he swam to that place, and he saved the girl who was drowning. And she was taken to a safer place. And this Muslim youth asked her to get out of this river, but the girl was hesitant to do so, because only then he realized that the clothes were already lost and she was almost naked, and that's why she showed her reluctance to get away from this water. So what the man has done was, he offered his dress to this girl, and it was the most decent method of doing that. He handed over his dress, one part of his dress, to this Muslim girl, and after completing her bath, she went back to the palace. So this is the incident that happened there. This Muslim youth saved the girl who was almost drowning, and he handed over his one part of his dress to the girl in order to save her, that is pride, self-respect. The news of the rescue that happened then, the news of the rescue spread like wildfire, and the ruler, the prince's uncle, was overjoyed because his niece was saved miraculously, and he was very happy, and he sent for the Muslim, and he offered him with much presents, gave the ruler great happiness, and he rewarded the soldier generously with gifts such as new clothes and higher rank in the army. As usual, he offered all these things to this youth who saved the life of the girl. The older princess, she refused to enter the palace and moved into the outhouse of the palace yard. So the girl who escaped from the river, or the girl who received the dress from the part of, or dress from this Muslim youth, she was not ready to enter into the palace. She was very reluctant to do so, and all the members of the royal court, the family, they tried their level best, and they compelled her, and the girl was not ready to enter into this palace because she strongly believed that it is a sin, because she accepted clothes from a Muslim, an outcast. And what is the significance of accepting, receiving dress from a man? There is a term in Malayalam, especially in our locality, Pudava Kodukka. Pudava Kodukka is indicative of, or giving the dresses or sari is indicative of marrying her. And from there the older term comes, Podori, Pudamuri. So she believed that she received the dress from the Muslim youth, and that is why she literally becomes the wife of that Muslim youth. And she was married, or she believed that she was married to this Muslim youth. Since she married this Muslim youth, it is not proper to enter into a Hindu royal family, and that was her problem. So all the other members of the family, they tried their level best in order to convince her that it is not a sin, and normally that happens, and also all sorts of consolations and all sorts of efforts were done by the different members of the family, but the girl was very adamant, and she was not ready to violate that code, and they determined to retrieve his young niece at any cost. The ruler sent for the local seers and priests to arrange for rituals which would help the princess atone for her perceived misconduct and purify her. So the king thought for another remedies, and he was searching for other remedies, and the local seers and the priests were summoned. So they should identify the sin, and they will help her to discard her sin and to purgate her, to purify her. And these people, they thought it as a good opportunity to get money, get presents, and good feast. Normally that happens. Once you are invited to the royal family to discard the sin, and that will fetch her 1 week's food and costly presents. And these people expected that, and that is why they prescribed so many pujas and so many rituals. And the king was wise enough to deny them, because he realized that these people were misusing him. And he told them that they will be summoned at a later point. And the news of the ruler's meeting with the seers and the priests reached the princess, who remained adamant in her earlier decision. The ruler himself tried and failed to change the niece's decision. And realizing the futility of this effort, he agreed to give her, or to build, a new palace in the nearby place. This was done, and the princess was given clothes, ornaments, vessels, and such gifts, so that she would continue to live like a princess. In order to ensure her physical security, she was given in marriage to the handsome Muslim youth, and she was given all the privileges, and she was entitled to get a name, that is Arakkal Bibi. The princess became Arakkal Bibi, and the male counterparts will be referred to as Arakkal Rajas. And that is the origin of Arakkal Bibi, the Arakkal dynasty. Even now, the palace is there, Arakkal Palace is there. Now it is a museum, and you can visit that museum, and it is very near to Kannur bus stand and Kannur railway station. Arakkal family is still there. Okay. So that is the origin of the story of Arakkal Bibi. The Muslim women are expected to observe Pada, so that they are protected from the looks of men outside the family. However, in view of close relation between two families, the Arakkal Bibis did not have to follow this custom in their interaction with men of the royal family, and they kept a good relationship with Chirakkal Kottarathil family also. And whenever the Chirakkal family or Chirakkal Kottarathil meets Arakkal Raja and Bibi, they greeted them with traditional gifts. And that type of amity and that type of warmth was kept there in between these two royal families. And that is why there was a slogan that Arakkal is half of Chirakkal. Then the next question is, how this Arakkal family moved to Kannur? Because we were told that after this incident where the girl was almost drowned and who hesitated to enter into this palace was given a new palace, or a new palace was built for her, and it was very near to the Arakkal, very near to this Kottarathil family. That means somewhere near to this Erimala Kota. Then how did this Arakkal family move to Kannur? In the 17th century of the Malayalam era, the Prime Minister of Kottarathil, he was a Nayar, Ariyankulangara Nayar, that was the name. He embraced Islam and changed his name into Muhammad Ali, and he continued as the Prime Minister. He also took the ruler's permission to marry one of the Bivis of Arakkal family. After his days, his sons remained to serve the royal family. One of them is Ali Musa, who was the commander of the ruler's army, and he captured Maldives Islands and presented them to his master. As a reward, the ruler presented Ali Musa family with 18,000 panams and a fort in Kannur and 2 villages in Kanathur and Kanothanjal, and the ruler soon moved from Erimala Kota to Valavattanam and Ali Musa to the fort. Ali Musa then helped the ruler to capture Lakshadweep, which was duly presented to Arakkal Bibi with an annual tax of 6,000 panams to be paid by Lakshadweep. the Kottarathil ruler also gave Ali Musa the title Ari Raja, the ruler of seas. Ali Musa helped the ruler capture Lakshadweep, which was newly presented to Arakkal Baby. Maldives was already captured. Then Lakshadweep also was captured by Ali Musa, or Ali Musa helped to capture this Lakshadweep, and he handed over this Lakshadweep to Arakkal Bibi, and which enabled him to get the annual tax of 6,000 panams. And as a token of his bravery and gratitude, Kottarathil gave him a title. He is the Ari Raja, Raja of the Ari, Raja of the seas, which was soon distorted as Ali Raja, and that is the etymology of the name Ali Raja, and that is how he became Ali Raja. When Malabar became part of the British territory, Arakkal Bibi handed over the administration of Lakshadweep to British, with the condition that the part of the tax collected should go to her. And however, this condition was never honored by the British, and treated Lakshadweep as their own territory. So when the British came there, and Arakkal Bibi very well realized that she cannot defend these white people, defend this British, and that is why she asked for a treaty. She made a move for a treaty, and as per that, the administration, they should hand over an amount, a tax, one part of the tax collected to that is Arakkal Bibi. But the British people or the British government was not ready to do so, and they considered this Lakshadweep as their own territory. But this dispute continued, that is related to the administration of Lakshadweep. Finally, it entered in the compromise by which the British agreed to make an annual payment of a sizable sum of money to Arakkal Bibi, and apart from that, the entire Chirakkal family was also awarded a private purse, and the Arakkal and the Chirakkal families continue to live in amity to this day, and may God help them to remain so with greater happiness. And that is how Kottarathil Sankunni describes the story of Arakkal Bibi, and from how a Hindu ruler or a member of the Hindu family became a Muslim, and how a new dynasty was formed. So I have told you at the very beginning that the story begins like the first paragraph. It is the story of a Hindu princess who embraced Islam to respect tradition. And what was the tradition? A girl who receives pudava from a man should be his wife. This is the tradition. So she was forced to receive that pudava in a juncture because she was almost drowning, she was almost dying, and in that crisis she was offered that pudava. But even then, she was ready to respect that tradition. 1. 2. A new dynasty was started in order to resolve a crisis with justice, courage, and tolerance. And what was that? A new palace was built. She was married to a Muslim youth. Some power should be given to them. And that is why the king said that, the ruler said that, you will be the ruler of the kingdom. You will be the Arakkal Bibi, and your children will become the Arakkal Rajas. And this was the order, or this was the decision taken to resolve the crisis. What is the crisis? How the royal girl will live on. That's the crisis, because she was part of the royal family. And he resolved this crisis with justice by giving another kingdom. And it's an act of courage, because Hinduism was very prominent there, and the Hindu ruler is giving way for the birth of another country. and it was a matter of tolerance also, and he knows how to respect other religions. So this story, and in the introduction I have told you that it says the rich tradition of Kerala, and that rich tradition is slowly disappearing from our society. And it is the correct context in which such stories and such tradition should be unraveled to the new society and in front of our students. So Kottarathil Sankunni is giving such a beautiful pen picture of the genesis of this new kingdom, and we are all we have seen that how the king showed his tolerance towards a man from other religion. Normally we expect that the Muslim youth may be killed or punished, but this man was ready to give him presents. He was ready to give him, accept him as a bridegroom for his niece, and these are all the part of the rich tradition which were followed by the Kerala society, and that is the real boon, or that was the real rich tradition of Kerala. Let us discuss the questions and answers. The first question: the original teller of the story begins it by taking possession. What's it? The original teller of the story takes the position that the princess embraced Islam religion to respect a tradition, and the ruler started a new dynasty to resolve a crisis with justice, courage, and tolerance. Second one: what happened at the river? Two princes from Arakkal family went to the river to take bath. The elder princess was overcome by fatigue and was in danger of drowning. A Muslim youth heard their cries, and he rescued her by jumping into the water. The third one is rather lengthy. Can the drowning incident be a strategy imagined by the people of the times to explain a relationship that both religions found hard to accept? Justify your answer. The drowning incident can be considered as a strategy imagined by the people of the time to explain an uncommon relationship that the Hindu and Islam religion found hard to accept, because such an incident cannot be imagined in those days, and that is why it is explained with the help of a myth. What are the arguments of the saved princess? After having rescued by the Muslim youth, the princess was not ready to enter the palace. She argued that while rescuing her, the Muslim youth had held her hand, then given her a cloth, which are two acts that constituted the greater part of a marriage ritual as per the Hindu custom. She also argued that since a marriage between the Hindu princess and a Muslim is not permissible, she became an outcast and could not enter the palace. Question number 5. What did the ruler do to retrieve his niece? The ruler sent for the local seers and priests to arrange for rituals which would help the princess atone for her perceived misconduct and purify herself. 6. What were the two rituals that constituted Hindu marriage? The answer: the man holding the hand of a woman and giving her a cloth were the two rituals that constituted Hindu marriage. how did the wise men exploit the situation? The wise men saw in the invitation of the ruler an opportunity to collect much wealth, and they prescribed lengthy and expensive rituals followed by a lavish feast for all. 8. Is it reasonable to attribute the holding of the hand and giving the cloth in a particular situation to that of doing it in marriage? Holding of the hand and giving of the cloth constituted the greater part of Hindu marriage. But in this story, these two acts happened quite unexpectedly while saving a life. So it is unreasonable. 9. What can you infer about the rigidity of religions in those days? Kottarathil Sankunni is creating a myth to overcome the rigidity of religion in those days by allowing a Hindu princess to marry a Muslim youth. Question number 10. Do stories like this serve the purpose of controlling women? Stories like this serve the purpose of controlling women because the prince's uncle sent for the local seers and priests to arrange rituals to purify her. But he was defeated by her determination. So hope that you followed the lesson well. So all the best. Thank you.